The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the TowerCoverage.com webinar brought to you by Link Technologies. Today we're going to go over creating stuff in Tower Coverage, setting up your account, some of the basic features of it, as well as we'll cover some of the new features that have been added recently as well. At the end of this broadcast, we'll do questions and answers. Feel free to send questions throughout the broadcast, and at the end we can cover those. We have Jim Patient will be answering questions as well as the webinar goes on, but we'll cover them at the end so that way everybody knows what was asked and what the answers to the questions would be. Any other questions that, if you can't think of a question during the webinar, feel free to send us an email, support@TowerCoverage.com, and we will answer your questions even outside of the webinar as well. To begin, what is TowerCoverage.com? It is a RF propagation website that allows you to create coverage maps based on the settings of your access points. You can plot out all of your towers and all of your antennas on your network, so that way you can see what the actual areas are that you can get service to. It allows you to integrate your coverage maps into your website, and as well as with a end user submission feature that allows you to collect data from your customers. This data can be used to track your installed customers, to track service calls and requests that you couldn't get connections to previously, and allows you to use some of our other features such as the best tower feature to find optimal locations for putting up towers or installing new service in areas to get customers that you couldn't get before. To get started, basically, if you go to TowerCoverage.com, you can register for an account. Everything on the registration form is required. You do have to select whether you want to do a 2-day trial or a 14-day trial. The 2-day trial requires no billing information, so if you just want to check out Tower Coverage and see what it has to offer before actually providing any billing information, then you can do our 2-day trial. Otherwise, you can do the 14-day, agree to a billing agreement, but you do not get billed until your trial period is up, and you're free to cancel at any time. Once you have registered and you verify your email address, you'll be able to log in using your email address and the password that you provided. Upon logging in, you'll see your dashboard. It's going to be pretty well empty, but the first step that you're going to need to do is to set up your account. You want to make sure that your company profile is correct. Whatever you filled out on the registration form will automatically be populated in your company profile. But bear in mind that if you decide that you want to have a public map on Tower Coverage's national map, whatever is in your company profile will be what is displayed when an end user clicks on the pin that signifies your company location. So you want to make sure that the company profile shows what you want end users to see. You can add users to your account. There are 3 different types of user level. There is an admin. You will automatically be an admin. You can add input users and read-only users. If you do create an additional admin, you can add 2 more people as admins. Keep in mind that to remove an admin, you would have to contact support to be able to remove that admin, and that any admin that you have has full access to your account, every aspect of it the same as you do. So keep in mind whenever you're adding admins. The managed subscription page allows you to upgrade and downgrade your account as you need. If you need more coverages, more API calls, or anything like that, you can freely just come in to the managed subscription and move your tier up if you need more coverages. The upload logo, you can upload a PNG or a JPEG here. This allows you to, whenever you do a point-to-point link, if you want to print that link, it will actually put your logo on the top of that link. Your EUS settings is a very important part of setting up your Tower Coverage account. We will cover what all of these do later on in the broadcast. But these on this page is where you can add custom custom pin types. By default, you will have the green, yellow, red X, and the green installed pin. And then you can add as many as you like. Select from one of the default icons and give it a name. In your API settings, this is where you will actually set up if you have a billing system, if you would like your end user submissions to be pushed into some type of billing software. There are many different billing systems that integrate very well with TowerCoverage. So some of the ones that we have in the list, there are others as well. PowerCode, Vis, BillMax, Sonar, Azotel. There's several of them that'll integrate very well. If you look at your billing system, they should have a section for third-party integrations, and if you see TowerCoverage in there, you can simply integrate TowerCoverage with your billing system. So any of your data that you collect via the website integration from TowerCoverage, we will automatically push it to your billing system if you add those credentials on this page. Your land cover settings is a extremely important portion of TowerCoverage. Recently, we have added the ability to create multiple different types of land cover settings. By default, you will automatically have the standard land cover setting, and these will have whatever the default heights are for each individual types of land cover. The density is a 0 to 10,000%, so keep that in mind when you're creating your different land covers. You can actually, as I stated before, you can create different types of land covers. So a land cover setting 50%. You'll see this one is testing land cover 50%. So 5,000 would be half of 10,000. So these are all 50% density settings. You can add as many as you like. You simply click on the Add New, give it a name. Once you give it a name, then you can select the one that you created and set the values as needed. This allows you to set a different land cover value to each individual coverage. So if you have a 900 megahertz land cover setting, a 2.4 land cover setting, a 5 gig land cover, whatever different frequencies you're using, you can actually create a land cover setting. So that way the calculated penetration of the land cover, it correlates with the frequency that you're using. Some frequencies get better penetration than others, as we all know. So creating different land covers allows you to increase the accuracy of your coverage maps, and also still use the clutter data that is provided by TowerCoverage. It makes it to where the different frequencies will actually provide, like, you can actually hone these in, so that way you can get it to where you're plus or minus a few dB from what you're actually seeing out in the field. So this is very important. You want to try and set these up using real customer data is a good way to do it. So if you create your first coverage, and we'll go over that here in a minute. Once you create your first coverage, you can use your customer data that of customers that are actually installed off that coverage, and then perform link path analysis to that coverage and find out whether TowerCoverage is projecting a hotter signal than you're seeing, or a weaker signal than you're seeing, and then come here and adjust your land cover settings until 2 or 3 points are within a couple dB. Then you know your land cover settings are correct. Therefore, any coverage that you create thereafter with that land cover setting will be accurate as well. Your overlay management allows you to upload overlays into your account. If you have KML or KMZ in Google Earth that has significant points that you would like to be able to see on the map along with your coverage area, you can upload those in. Keep in mind that whenever you do upload those, it will accept a KML or KMZ. There cannot be any spaces in the name, and it does have to be less than 3 meg in size. That is a Google Map restriction. That's not something that we can change, unfortunately. So if it is larger than 3 meg, then you will need to break it into smaller pieces to be able to upload the entire thing into TowerCoverage. Antenna pattern upload. allows you to upload your own antenna pattern. So if you're creating coverages and you do not see an antenna that you wish to use, you can actually add that into your account. Any antenna that you add into your account is only for you, so you don't have to worry about every tower coverage customer seeing it. They will only be viewable by you. So if you get an antenna pattern from a manufacturer, or if you use the download antenna pattern creation document up in the top right corner, you can create your own antenna pattern, apply it to tower coverage, and be able to actually use that on your coverages. Once your account's all set up, then you're going to actually be able to create sites. When you go to the site creation page, there are several different ways to find your tower location to import your towers into the system. You can search by the address at the top. You will need to give it a name. One of the other options is Find My Location. If you simply click that, it will move the pin to relatively close to where you're actually at, depending on the accuracy of the location of your computer or your device that you're using. This is very handy if you're out at a tower site putting up a new tower. You just climbed up and installed. Once you get down, you want to add that tower location and those coverages to tower coverage. But before you even go back to your shop, you can open up your phone, go to tower coverage, hit add a new site, hit find my location, and give it a name and create the site. And the tower, you don't have to try and find that tower. Once you get back to the office, it'll already be in the system. The default height, you can leave this at 0 if you wish to. Basically what this does is when you create a coverage, it'll automatically pre-fill the antenna height as to whatever you set the default height to. You can put it in meters. If you put it in feet, it will automatically convert to meters for you. You can find your tower location if you know the latitude and longitude, or if you know the degrees, minutes, seconds, latitude and longitude as well. Also keep in mind that in the latitude field, if you're in the northern hemisphere, it will be a positive value. Southern hemisphere will be a negative value. Longitude, western hemisphere is negative, eastern hemisphere is positive value. Same thing with the DMS latitude and longitude. You will have a positive or a negative value in the fields if it corresponds correctly. The description and the group, these are not required. You do not have to put anything in there. The nice thing about the description and group is that once you create a multi-map, if you elect to have the pins on your sites, the description and group contents, when you click on the pin on a multi-map, it will actually show you what that pin says. So for the description, you can actually set, put in there what the capable speeds of that particular tower is, or if you enter a URL in there, then it will actually make it a hyperlink, a clickable link that'll open it into a new tab. So they're very useful fields to be able to put some information in there for your sales team to actually be able to see some data about that tower. Without having to go and open up some spreadsheet or anything like that. It allows you to give some instructions to your team, and it's all contained in tower coverage, so that way they don't have to have everything open all at once. It really streamlines the sales aspect of running your business. The map pin styles by default, it will be the red pin. You can select any of the 4 pins. Selecting the pin will change the color of the pin. It'll also display in that color on the multi-map. You can use these however you see fit to mark which sites are repeaters, what are backbone towers, stuff like that. So we added those in not too long ago per feature request of our customers. So it just added that little aspect so it makes your maps more customizable. The other way of adding your tower sites, there's a download import template here. If you download this template, it will download a CSV template for you. And the different columns are going to be basically what you see here. The first column will be the site name, and then it's going to be the height. It's going to ask for latitude and longitude. On the template, you do have to put those in as decimal degree. It will not accept DMS. So you will have to convert them before entering them into tower coverage. The description group field on the upload template can also be left blank, and it will automatically default all all uploaded towers as a red pin, so you can go change those afterwards, but it's going to send them all as a red pin to start with. Once you have created your tower site or uploaded all of your sites, the next step, you're going to want to create a coverage. When you go and create a coverage, you're going to see your tower site drop down. It's going to actually give you a list of all the sites that are contained, and as I explained before, the height is going to be automatically populated in the antenna height. You can change that as you see fit. You don't have to keep it at the default height. So if your sectors are lower on the tower than what the actual tower is, you can change that. Your RX threshold. This is basically what this is what the minimum RSSI that you are wanting to see at the client side to achieve a successful install. So if you accept an EG 72, if you tell your installers if you get a 72 or better, go ahead and install them, then that's what you would set that to. For your LTE stuff, keep in mind that your client radios for LTE are generally not RSSI, they're RSRP, which is 20 dB, roughly less than RSSI. So if whenever you do a path analysis on an LTE coverage, if tower coverage says that it's that the projected signal would be neg 72, that's actually roughly a neg 92 is what you would actually see in your client radio when you do the install. Your required reliability percentage, this is to add or subtract statistical loss or loss per distance. The greater this value is, if you have it up at 90, it's going to add a significant amount of loss. If you turn this down all the way, it's the amount of loss calculated is going to be significantly less. Your strong signal margin and your colors that you see on the right-hand side in the overlay settings, these are strictly just the color settings, basically. So the strong signal margin determines, as you can see on the right side, as I move the slider back and forth, it will change the values of the strong and weak signal colors. That lets you know that, shows you that the dB difference between the strong and the weak signal color is what your signal margin slider is for. Use land cover. We do recommend that you always use land cover because otherwise any clutter data is going to be removed from the calculation. This is where you're going to see the land cover types that you created in the land cover type drop-down menu. Use 2-rays, so anything that this takes into consideration multipath reflection, and also if you're using stuff that like LTE and stuff like that, you're going to want to turn your 2-rays on if you're doing using antennas of that type. Your create view shed, excuse me, your create view shed, what this does is the opposite of turning your land cover off. So if we turn the land cover off, it removes all land cover from the calculation. If you turn this create view shed on, it ignores your land cover setting density. It will keep the height settings, but it will turn all the density of any land cover that you are using, and it will turn them all up to maximum density, 10,000% density. So in general, you're not going to use the create view shed unless you're wanting to make an extremely conservative coverage map where no link is going to show as possible unless it's clean, perfect line of sight, that type of situation. Your antenna type, as I stated before, you can add your own antennas. Any antenna file that you upload will show up at the bottom of this list. But we do have many other antennas from many other manufacturers in here. As I said before, if you don't see the one that you want, by all means, contact the manufacturer, go to their website. You'll need to get the radio mobile compatible.ant file for that antenna and then upload it into your account. Any electrical tilt that is on that antenna, if you use a manufacturer antenna, the electrical tilt will automatically be calculated. Your antenna gain is in dBi, and most of the rest of creating coverage is pretty well self-explanatory. One thing that we'll cover in detail here is the beam width filter. If I have an antenna that the advertised beam width is 120 degree beam width, this beam width filter does not affect the propagation of the website of the coverage. Excuse me. What this does is makes it to where 60 degrees to the left and 60 degrees to the right of the center line of that antenna, if it is outside 1 degree outside of that beam width filter, a path analysis and an end user submission will not allow this coverage to return as a possible link. So on your path analysis and your end user submission, if you have a 120 degree sector where the advertised beam width is 120 degrees, if you want to allow possible links to happen to one of the side lobes of that antenna, which most all antennas have some sort of 5 or 10 degree side lobe to them where a good link can still happen. You want to add to that beam width filter. So for a 120, I would probably turn that up to like 150. That would add 15 degrees to either side to allow for the path analysis or an EUS to return to that coverage if it has a good link and it's on a side lobe. Your antenna azimuth, if you do not know what direction, it is a 0 to 360 on an azimuth. If you look over on the left side, there's a little azimuth over there. No matter what value you type, it's going to show you which direction that is actually pointing, north, south, east, or west, or whatever that degree signifies. You do need to put something in there, otherwise it's going to give you an error. But 0 and 360 are both due north. Your antenna tilt is your mechanical tilt. If you're using one of the manufacturer antenna types, the electrical tilt, as I said before, is already calculated into the antenna pattern, so you do not need to put anything in here. If you have a 2 degree mechanical down tilt on your antenna, on your sector, you're going to want to put -2. If you put a +2, that is up tilt, not down tilt. We have many frequencies. Pretty much any frequency except for FM bands is available. If there is a frequency that you don't see in there, by all means, shoot us an email at support@TowerCoverage.com and let us know so we can get it added in for you. Your exact center frequency is not required, but you can put that in there. That allows for the frequency coordination feature on the multi-map to actually function. Your TX power is in dBm, so if yours shows milliwatts or anything other, you will need to calculate that out to be able to create your coverage accurately. Your TX line loss is the actual, if you're not using any cable runs, just pigtails or the antenna is integrated with the radio, 0.5 or 0 is generally more than sufficient. If you do have LMR runs from your radio to your antenna, you will need to get the line loss per foot on your cable and calculate that out and put it in there. Your average client antenna height up here in the RX setting, this is the average height that you install your customers off of this sector. So if it's a neighborhood of one-story ranches that this coverage is pointing at, you're going to put it at 5 or 6 meters. If it's 2-3 story subdivision, then you're going to set that accordingly. You put that at 8 or 10 meters, so that way it actually shows areas and takes that height into consideration. The client antenna gain, our recommendation is to put the largest antenna that you do installs with off of this sector. That way you know that whenever the coverage is created, that if the largest antenna that I use is a 19 dBi, but I also have some 13 dBis that I can install with, I'll put 19 in there. And then if I get an EUS submission that it says the projected signal to this customer location is a -45, I know I don't need to take that 19 dB panel out there. I can take my 13 dB or whatever else I use to install with. But if you put the low side of it, then there's going to be areas that show no coverage that you could get coverage to if you just use your 19 dB. In your overlay settings, the resolution, when you're setting up your coverage, if you process them initially on low resolution, they will process much faster. So that way you can kind of get your coverage honed in. This will allow you to make adjustments quicker. And then once everything looks good and you've tested link path points and stuff, then you can process them on very high resolution to get a better quality coverage image. But the low resolution will process in approximately 10 or 15 seconds, where the very high resolution could take 45 seconds to a minute to process. So if you're just trying to set it up, you can start them on low resolution so they process much faster. The strong and weak colors, you'll see that there is a color selector here. Even though you can change the color for an individual coverage, when you add all your coverages to a multi-map, they will default to the strong color being this color green, and the weak signal color will be a dark green. So changing the colors will allow you to modify them on a single coverage, but they all end up the same color on a multi-map anyway. Your opacity is exactly what it says. It is the lightness or darkness of the actual coverage. If you turn this up to 100%, you will not be able to see through the coverage. So if you turn it to satellite view and try and zoom in and see where the house is, you're not going to be able to see it. If you turn it way down low on satellite view, you're probably not going to be able to see the coverage because it's going to be so light over the grassy area that you won't be able to see it. So by default, it's 50%. It usually works for most people. And then your maximum range is just a restrictor for end user submissions and path analysis. By default, it is set to 20 kilometers. Finally, you'll need to give your coverage a name. So what we recommend is that you identify this particular one. So this is our beam width filter, our advertised beam width is 120 degrees. It's a 2-4 sector and it's pointing north. So if I were to put in here Tower A, 2 gigahertz north. This tells me that it's the 2.4 sector, north-facing sector on Tower A, or whatever my I didn't put a height up in here. But it gives me some type of identifier as to which sector this actually is. So it allows me to not have to open it up to figure out what it is. Once you hit create, you'll see that it goes into your recent changes, and the coverage goes to our processing server, and they process the coverage for you. And we'll go ahead and just open up one of these other coverages. So this coverage was created. It's on the same tower with roughly the same settings, except it's using an Omni uploaded antenna. But as you can see, there's several different features and stuff available on a single coverage map. On the single coverage map, you can do a path analysis. So if you want to check what the projected signal to a specific location is, you can simply click the map and drop a green pin, or you can search for an address down here in the bottom left search bar, and it will drop the pin for you as well. For this example, we'll just drop the pin. You'll see that on a single coverage, you'll see this window pop up. If you do not want to save it, you're just wanting to test a location, you can simply click Don't Save. You do not have to fill nothing out. If this is a installed customer or a point-to-point spot that you're going to be setting up or something like that, you can save it. This allows you to make fine adjustments. So if we do save this, we'll actually go ahead and save this one here. So it's going to give you the results of your path analysis, which unfortunately I clicked a spot because that's an example. Even though this is a 360 coverage, as you can see in the right here, it's the azimuth is facing north. The beam width filter is 65. So this is outside my beam width filter. So even though the propagation, because the antenna pattern is an Omni, it created an Omni coverage, but the beam width filter is restricting me to 32.5 degrees off either side of the center line of this coverage. So if we actually move it to a valid spot for the antenna, this time we'll hit Don't Save. it will show you what the projected signal is to the point that you selected. So as you can see, the land cover for this one has very low density settings, so it's not actually affecting the coverage a whole lot. But in the example that I explained earlier, we have this RX threshold set to a neg 100. Okay, this is a 365 coverage. That's why we have this one set to that. Okay, so that would be roughly a neg 120 RSRP. So in this situation, this neg 189, or excuse me, neg 89.9, that would be a neg 109 in RSRP on our client side. So that's why you're seeing that signal quality there, because we display RSSI, not RSRP. Some other features on a single coverage, you can view your KML overlays that are in your account, and you can also view the map data for this coverage as well. So you'll see that the coverage area that was calculated is this block. You can turn the opacity up on it so that way you can actually see a little bit better. As you can see, all the different colors that are viewable in the land cover directly correlate with the colors that you see in your land cover settings. So that allows you to tell which types of land cover are actually being used. You got the dark green evergreen, you got your deciduous, you got the brown is your grasslands, pink is your croplands, and so on. So you're able to see what is actually being used in the calculation, and this is our standard land cover. And from the land cover settings, you can see that the standard was set only to a 450 or 500 for a density. So that's only at like 5% density roughly for each one of these values. Another thing that you can do in a single coverage, you can change which type of map that you're actually viewing as well. You can view your ASR towers. What this is viewable in a single coverage and a multi coverage. What this does is it populates all of the FCC registered towers within 20 miles of wherever the center of your map is. It is a very large database, so it will take a little bit of time for it to load. But if you're looking to install a new sector or something nearby, or put up a repeater from this location, you can actually click on that, see what the registered towers are, and by clicking on the registration link that's available, it'll actually take you to the information on that tower, who owns it, what their contact information is, its location, and everything. So just a little added feature that allows you to see what's in your area if you're wanting to set up like a repeater site, or make a hop to get further downtown or something of that sort. And then we'll cover EUS data after we cover that in the multi-coverage. But once you've created all of your coverages, the next thing that you can do, and we'll actually go and look at this coverage real quick. This is the one that we created in the example. So you'll see that it is a 120 sector calculated. Once you've created all of your coverages, you've set up your land cover, you've honed everything in, next step you're going to need to do is actually put them into a multi-coverage. Creating a multi-map is much simpler than creating a single coverage, because all you have to do is go to create new. If you want to create a massive multi-map with all of your sectors, you just check them all and hit add selected. It'll move them all over here to the included coverages. You'll give it a map name, so we can say this is map all. There's a couple options for you to select here. Place pins on sites. This will actually show you your tower locations on the multi-map. Keep in mind that the pin locations, if you make this a public map or you use it as an EUS data collection map, your pins will not be displayed to your end users. So the place pins on site is strictly for a internal use thing. Your sales team to be able to see your towers, or as I stated before, your tower pins. If you click on them on a multi-map, you actually get the information from that site location. But the pins are not displayed on our public map, and they are not displayed on your EUS form. So it is not something you have to worry about. We're not going to share your tower locations with outside people outside of your account. The EUS data collection form. This option tells tower coverage whether this is a data collection map or a view map. Once you create a multi-map, I will show you here in a minute the website integration. Every multi-map has an iframe associated with it. If it is a data collection map, that iframe will display an end user submission form. If it is not a data collection map, that iframe will display an actual smart map on your website if you integrate the iframe. What that does is anytime your multi-map on your tower coverage account is updated, your website will automatically update. The iframes are updated twice a day, so any change that you make on your website, on your account, will automatically affect the map that you have integrated on your website. It makes it where you don't have to keep, just because you added a coverage, you don't have to go update your website, because tower coverage is automatically going to update that aspect of your website for you. You don't have to get new images or anything like that. It'll automatically update for you. And then make this map publicly viewable. What that does is you're allowed to have up to 3 publicly viewable maps. What that'll do is put the coverage of this multi-coverage on our public map, and it'll also add a pin for your company at the geographic center of the coverage. If you have a very large coverage, you can actually split your network into 3 areas using multi-maps, and that'll actually put 3 pins on our public map, so that way your network is more identifiable on the public map, and instead of the pin being way off to the side or something like that on the public map. It gives you a little bit better footprint on the public map, essentially. Once you've selected the coverages that you want to add, you've decided whether you want it viewable, if you want pins, whether you want a form or not. You can make 2 maps that are completely identical, one with the data collection on, one with it off, and you can take both iframes and put them on your website if you like. You can also set the zoom level. This is the default zoom level of the map. All the way to the left it is way out, so it's like satellite view. All the way in it is nearly ground view. So we'll put it at the middle just to start with, so that way you can see that. You click Create Multi-Map. The multi-maps process much faster, simply because they're just collecting the data from the associated coverages. They don't take near as long to process because the calculations have already been done. As you can see, it's already updated and created the map. Once we open up the map, you'll see that it is now a collection of all of your coverages. Once you're in a multi-coverage, then a whole lot of other features also open up to you. Here's the website integration that I spoke about previously. This iframe code, because this is a data collection map, if I click this test button, it will show me exactly what is going to be displayed on your website. So by clicking this test button, you get to see the iframe that is actually on that's going to be integrated on your website, minus the blue border. That border will not be there. This form cannot be modified, with the exception of how it responds and how the text is actually viewed. So this title at the top, you can change first name to a different language. All these fields you can change the way the text displays, but the actual value of that field is still the same requirement. By going to Account EUS Settings, this is what I previously talked about whenever we were going over account settings. Here's where you're going to change that. So you see the title is Test, the same thing that you see on the iframe. So these settings over here on the right-hand side are what you see on the iframe version of the EUS submission. The weekly EUS submission report allows you to receive an email of all EUS submissions received in the last week. Your Google Analytics allows obviously what it says, your Google Analytics, to track how much your EUS iframe was used. Your EUS landing settings, these are how the iframe actually behaves. So you have a couple different options. You can display the coverage map zoomed on their area with your actual coverage displaying and a simple thank you message. You cannot put any return characters in here. This can only be just a simple one paragraph statement. Your movable pin text, after the customer fills out the form, and I will fill it out here in a second so that way you can see that after they fill out the form, it's going to give a message to let them know to move the pin to their location. Address geocoding is not as accurate as GPS, latitude, longitude. Basically, we geocode their address. Once we geocode their address, you can tell them, okay, now move the pin to the exact location of your house. If they have 15 acres, that pin could be in the trees back behind their house, 300 feet. So the EUS or path analysis isn't going to be as accurate as if they move the pin to the correct location. The EUS emails, this allows you to define up to 5 different emails that you would like to receive the EUS submissions for your account. So if we actually go back to the form and we fill this out, this is exactly how it's going to behave. We use the Google reCAPTCHA. This allows, for most users, they're just going to check the box. It's going to give them a green checkbox. If the reCAPTCHA determines that it needs to do a further check, it will open a box and have them select some images. It's a very simple CAPTCHA. Once you submit it, you see there it says test. That's the movable pin text. So this actually allows us to click on the map and say, where exactly we are. So the address geocoded there, but say my house is, just a little bit off to the side. I can move it and click here to finish. And as you can see on this, it shows the coverage map zoomed in on the client's location, and then it has the thank you message that we provided as well. That EUS submission, approximately no greater than 5 minutes, but usually within a minute or two, you'll receive an email with the results of that EUS submission. That EUS submission can be found in your account just simply by going to your EUS data. This is the one that we just filled out. You see that it comes through as a new pin, and it'll give me the results to the 6 best possible links. As you can see, only 2 were possible, so it only returned 2. But this information that you see on this page is the exact information that you're going to receive in the email as well. So anytime somebody fills out your form on your website, you're going to get an email with the 6 best possible links. It automatically excludes any that are outside the max range and any that are outside the given beam width of the coverage. So you know that the ones that are returned are ones that should be possible. All of these images that you see here, they will stay in your account for, the images will go away after 6 months, but the data will stay forever until you remove it. This allows you to track all of the submissions that you have ever received. So in this example, you'll see that it has good links, but if this did not have any good links and they were all link not possible, I could put a comment in for this submission. Talk to this customer, they wanted me to keep their information on file, anything you want to put on there. Then you can change this pin type. As you can see in this account, there's many pin types because we've created several. But the default ones are simply the 4 that are in here. So if this was a no service one, we can change it to no service, and now it becomes a red X. So when we view our EUS data on our multi-coverage, which that is right down here, you can hit your all EUS, and I have a lot of them at the same address, so they're all piled up. But you can see that it shows up as a red X. So this one here had a best possible signal of a -48, shows all their information. And if we click this view details button, it takes us back to the other page that we were just viewing. And it'll open it up in a new tab, allowing you to view that without leaving your map. As you can see, there are many different pin types displayed. We have the, as I said before, the custom pin. So if you want to create a pin type to signify whatever you want to use them for, non-paying customer, deinstalled, never install them again, repeater locations, micropop, whatever you want to do. You have many different options for identifying different locations and using your pin statuses if you don't want to put them in as a tower site. Back in your EUS settings, if we go back to our EUS data, on the multi-map, you can see in this list there's a saved searches list. What that is in your EUS data, you can do a quick search, and it will narrow down your list. So I just searched for my last name, and it populated all of those. You can hit view all; it'll display all of them. There's only 84 in here. By default, it only displays the top 100. But the advanced search over here on the right, so you'll see all of the different custom pins, allows us to do an advanced search, and we have the option of saving that search. So if I do a saved search, and I just want to find all of them with a specific pin type, it will return just the 2 that have that pin type. And now it's in here as a saved search. So you'll see that if we go back to our multi-map, that saved search will be available, and it will only display that pin type. The same goes for all your no-go submissions or anything like that. This will also allow you to be able to use our best tower feature. So our best tower feature allows you to take one of your saved searches and submit it to the best tower. What this does is it does a reverse calculation and allows you to see what the best location is. So if we submitted one of our no-goes saved searches to the best tower feature, what it'll do is it'll take all of those customers that you couldn't get service to before, and it will do a reverse path analysis, and then it's going to provide you with a heat map that shows you what area you would need to build a tower with the given parameters. Sorry, I should have showed you that. It'll ask you for the parameters of the tower or coverage area that you're wanting to put up. So basically, you will give it a name. You'll decide whether you want land cover seen as penetration, which is essentially the same thing as what a coverage does. It sees land cover as penetration loss. By clicking create view shed into coverage, it'll see land cover as a solid obstruction, which is exactly what this does, or no land cover whatsoever. But basically, you give it, you set the parameters of what you're trying to accomplish when you're building a new tower, and once you have done so, it'll allow you to click create new best tower. This is like millions of calculations, so it does take, depending on how many submissions are actually in your safe search, will determine how long it takes. But on average, it'll take anywhere from 5 minutes to 25 minutes for it to process. So it isn't as fast as a coverage, but it is not very long. But once you do process it, then you can actually open this best tower results up, and you'll see that you now have a heat map. So in this one, we submitted 28 records to the best tower feature with the given parameters, and it gave us a heat map of what the best location for putting up a tower would be. So in this example, you can see that there's several warm areas. As it loads, the ASR towers are automatically going to load into the map as well. So if you're not actually wanting to build a tower, you just want to go and put one up, or excuse me, get space on one, then you can check one of these ASR towers as well. Or if you're going to actually build a tower, you can simply click on the map, and over here on the left hand side, it'll give you the latitude and longitude and what the address at that given location is So you know how to get there to see if the person that owns that land wants to let you build a tower or sell some of it, or they have a structure that you can install on. It's a very handy feature if your end user submissions and your projected customers starts running low, your sales team isn't getting a whole lot of leads. You can now you know how to find a new location, and then you can take your save search, view your no-go save search, which this one only has one in it, but then you'd be able to click download the CSV up here in the top right. That's only going to download the ones that are currently viewed on your screen, and then you can hand that CSV over to your sales team and be like, here, these are the people that couldn't get service before. I went and installed this tower. The best tower feature showed me that these customers, most of these customers, will probably be able to get service now. You want to give them a call and find out if they still want service, that type of situation. So there's a lot of handy features when it comes to updating your PIN statuses, keeping track of your end user submissions, keeping your data up to date. And as I said before, every time your form is filled out on your website, it's going to submit those to your billing system if you have the integration set up. So it's going to really streamline the way your sales process runs. You don't have to have you're not going to miss those leads just because it's 2 a.m. and there's somebody looking for internet and you aren't there to answer the phone. If they find you on your website, if they find your website and they fill out the form, when you get in the morning, you know that you have new submissions. Your install team or your sales team can actually you can have them set to in their user account, set their default page as this multi-coverage. And whenever they come in, they open up Tower Coverage, it automatically sends them to the multi-map for your coverage area. And if they just click all EUS data, they can, if you update your end user data every day, the only yellow pins you're going to see on this map are ones that came in overnight. It allows you to very, very easily find out who was looking for internet when you weren't in the office. It makes a very handy way to track your business and track your customer data. As I said before, this iframe cannot be modified a whole lot, with the exception of the changing the language. You can't remove the CAPTCHA or anything like that. But if you go to your account settings and click on API, we do have a custom form template generator that is available. We have many APIs that are available, actually. We have the end user submission, multi-coverage, coverage API. You can get your site list. You can do a link path analysis. You can also do a pre-qualification API, which allows you to just submit an address to your multi-coverage, and it will respond to you within a matter of seconds with a yes or no as to whether that address location is in your coverage. Keep in mind the pre-qualification API does not store any data in your account, but it is a good way. If you're going to use the custom forms, you can actually use the pre-qualification API to test to see if they're in your coverage. If they are, then you take them to your form, have them fill out the form, and you could actually collect billing information at that point because you already know that you're going to get them service. There's many different APIs that allow you to customize your website or your server side to utilize tower coverage to get the most for your money with your tower coverage account. It allows it to become very, very powerful. As I've told many customers, you can do a massive amount of things with tower coverage. It just all depends on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. But if you want to talk about those later on in the future, by all means, give us a call. We'd be happy to discuss all the capabilities and stuff of the APIs with you. If you want to send us an email or give us a call about it. But this EUS API template generator, as I said before, it allows you to actually create a custom form. As you can see on the left here, it's essentially all the same fields. You can add or subtract these fields. The only thing is whenever you actually do the post to api.TowerCoverage.com, those fields still have to be submitted, but you can just submit, not applicable or whatever you want to submit to those fields. They'll go into your EUS data as that. So best time to contact, it'll just say not applicable, or you can put whatever information you want in there. It's just going to be in the best time to contact. It could say, referred by Tom, or whatever you want to use those fields for. You can hide them. You can add input fields as long as you combine your added field into another field appropriately. Whatever you want to do, there's a whole world of opportunity with the custom form. You will have to have a Google Map key if you want this form to function properly. It will take this template generator will actually take you to a map with a movable pin and a thank you message and everything, just like the other one does. But this one here is not being called from our server. It's being called directly and stored on your server. Therefore, you have to have your own Google Map key, which is not a big deal. You can go to just any Google account, go to console.developer.google.com, create a Google Map API key, and enable Google Maps geocoding and JavaScript. Take that key, put it in here, and then once you do, you hit show code, and this is the entire code block that you can put on your website, and you can modify it however you want. As you can see here, the CSS styles, all the HTML, all the jQuery and JavaScript, it's all here. So you can take this, modify it as you see fit, and integrate it on your website. If you are using a WordPress website, WordPress does not accept this code block. Unfortunately, it will put it on there, but you will have to modify it to fit the programming methods of a WordPress website. WordPress does not like the in-depth jQuery and JavaScript that are in this code block. And with that, that's pretty much all of the features. Oh, sorry, I stand corrected. Once you have all of your coverages created, if you do need to make massive change to your coverages, we do have a bulk update. You can come in here and check up to 100 coverages all at once. Hit update checked. It's going to give you a thumbnail of all of the coverages that you checked. And if I'm just wanting to change, just for example, just change one of the colors of all the coverages, I click the box, set that row to change, select the color that I want to change it to, hit apply. And then the only thing that's going to be done to all of these coverage that I have in this window will change the weak signal color to purple. So that's what this feature does. It's almost identical as creating a coverage, except you can specify which ones you want to create, or which ones you want to change and which ones you don't. But like I said, with that's about all of the features that we're going to go over for this webinar. Like I said, if you have any questions, need any assistance, we are here 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, for phone calls, or you can email us at support@TowerCoverage.com. You can email us anytime you want. The first thing we do in the morning and the last thing we do at night before we leave is make sure that nobody has any questions in our support emails. So by all means, if you have any questions, need help, give us a call, shoot us an email. There are many videos on our YouTube channel. Our Tower Coverage Wiki has a lot of information. There's pretty much anything that you need to know about tower coverage wise, setting up your coverages, link creation, link groups, map data. It's all on the wiki as well. And on Tower Coverage, the first time you log in, you will notice that there's a tutorial turned on. This is a dynamic tutorial. The contents of this tutorial page will change per page that you're on. So there's a lot of your questions that can be answered there as well. If you just close it just to get it out of your way, as soon as you change pages, it's going to come back again, unless you actually turn it off up here in the top. With that, let's see if we have any questions that anybody had. Let's see. All right, so will Tower Coverage help deconflict my Cambium 365 radios? Can you elaborate on that a little bit as to what you mean by deconflict them? That's the only question in our question box right now. So. Oh, so you're talking about like you know, like planning out your frequencies, like where each one should be, what channel each should be on each spectrum. Yeah, so on your multi coverage, it whenever you create a coverage, if you set the exact center frequency, there is a frequency coordination, frequency overlay feature that if I had a center frequency, see if I have any of them set here. Each frequency will display in a different color. If I have any, I don't believe I have any of them set though. But the answer is yes. If you on your coverages, when you create your coverages, if you set the exact center frequency of all of your coverages, then in a multi coverage, the frequency overlay feature will allow you, if you turn on that spectrum or that frequency range, for each frequency channel, it's going to display that in a different color. So if if you have two 120 sectors that are on the same exact center frequency, it's going to display a 120-degree pi in the same color. If that pi overlaps, two of the same color overlap, then you can see that you're possibly interfering with yourself. Any other questions before we wrap up the webinar here? Okay, I think that's about all of our questions. Looks like everybody's pretty much dipping out. Like I said, give us a call, shoot us an email if you do think of any other questions. But with that, thank you everybody for attending, and we hope to talk to you soon. And hope you enjoy tower coverage. If you have any feature requests or anything, please click the request feature at the top of your dashboard. There is a widget there. You can report a bug if you wish. If you don't want to send an email or something, you can report a bug here as well if you just want to do a bug report. But what this does is allows you to see things that other people have requested. It allows you to vote on them as well. Our developers will work off of this list the best they can. If it's something that is possible and everybody wants, chances are the stuff at the top is going to be addressed first. But with that, I wish everybody a good day, and let us know if you have any requests or any questions.